Hello, folks. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm still Jim Stump, at least for the time being. And I want to thank all of you who are helping out with the project that I asked about, and it's greatly appreciated. Please know that. And for everybody else, if you'd like to send in a comment or raise an issue or topic or tell a story, please leave it in the comments below or send me an email at counselorscouch101 at mail.com. You know, I try to come up with things that happened recently in order to talk about the issues here because I think they're more pertinent to people's experiences in the present time, right? Last week I had 3 events that different people, different situations behind it, but it was kind of a similar experience. There's a synchronicity that I sometimes marvel at. How do these things happen? Same sort of things happen in numbers at the same time. Situation was, I was talking to 3 people, and all 3 of them were telling me about an argument that they had had. And they all said similar things like what they were arguing about, they didn't care about. It wasn't important. And yet they were really, really riled up by the situation. And they had to argue it out with the person. And their level of annoyance and animosity was much greater than the situation called for, right? And this is a common experience for a lot of people have. And they wondered why they got so mad because they didn't care about it. And after the incident blew over, they forgot all about it and they weren't mad at the person anymore. But why did they get angry in the moment, right? I said, this is a common way that I approach those kinds of situations. I've done it many times, but I said, okay, well, let's talk for a while. And eventually I moved the conversation over to what they had experienced in their life, particularly when they were young people, when they were children or in, grade school or high school and like that. And each one of them seemed to get into the emotional turmoil of that time of life. And they started describing to me the negative things that had been done to them and the experiences they had at the hands of older siblings, family, neighbors, friends, various issues going on. And they could really feel the anger of the situation, right? And I'd said to them, that's where that anger comes from in the argument that you had. And they all stopped and they considered it and they tried to think. I said, you said you didn't care about the topic that you were engaged in arguing about, right? But you were feeling emotional about it. I said, what were they doing to you in that conversation, right? And they came up with things like, well, the other person wasn't listening to me. They were disrespectful. They wouldn't let me talk. They didn't care about what I was saying or something like that. And I said, have you ever feel that kind of feeling previously in your life? And that's when they can make the connection between what happened last week and earlier in their lives when somebody had disrespected them and filled them with rage and anger and a type of thing that they were not able at that time to reconcile. They couldn't overcome it. They had to live with it. And because of that, it gets stuffed down inside. It's pushed down. It's sort of like the lava at the center of the earth. It's like really, really hot, but we don't see it very often unless we get a volcanic explosion. But it's there all the time, and it affects everything that we do. This roiling rage, this roiling anger at the mistreatment we have received from people previously in our life. And that's what happens when that gets triggered, not by what someone's saying necessarily, but by the way they're saying it and the way they are treating us. It triggers all that old stuff, and that's why our level of annoyance and anger is so high. We're not feeling that anger and that level of annoyance at the situation that happened. We're remembering the disrespect and the lack of cooperation that we felt earlier in life. And so as the people could connect those 2 dots, they began to understand their own behavior. And I asked them, I said, knowing that, do you think it's going to help you in the future when you come into similar situations like this? And that gets us onto a conversation of being aware of when we are triggered, being aware of when we're feeling that old resentment and that old anger is coming up at the moment. And at that point, I tell people that we need to learn self-calming techniques to apply in that moment that you are aware that you've been triggered. Does that make sense? That's the time to practice self-calm, is when we're aware of it, not just because we're triggered, but because we're aware of being triggered. That's the point that is going to help people understand how to deal with their own upcoming feelings from the past. So once we figure out that we've been triggered and we know that we're not upset with what's in front of us, we're upset from things in the past, we practice self-calm, and then we can listen to what's going on in the presence. Sometimes we get somebody railing on about something that we don't care about, and we just let them blow themselves out, right? Go ahead, keep talking until it's, you're done with it and you're through with it. I don't want to continue the argument because there's no benefit, there's no value in it for me. So I disengage from the argument. Go ahead, talk it out for yourself, and when you're done, we're all through with this, because I realized that I was triggered and I don't care about this subject, right? It's really it's a good technique to know about yourself and to begin to recognize when you have been triggered, and also then begin to remember what to do when you have been triggered and how to counteract that, counterbalance it, and let go of the emotions that you're feeling in the moment. So, like I said, I had 3 such conversations last week, and the thing that was really interesting about it is all 3 of them were able to connect their feelings to things that they happened in the past, and that's something we discuss all the time. But finally, they were able to feel it emotionally. When they could go into the past and recall the emotions of it, the feeling of it, and then apply it to what they're doing now, that's when change starts to happen. That's when improvement comes, right? So that was what was synchronous about last week, and I just thought I would share it with you here in case any of you could benefit from that. Be aware of your feelings. Try to figure out where they came from and whether or not they apply to this thing in front of your eyes. Because when people calmed down, they were able to hear the current argument, and they realized that it had no value for them. They didn't need to invest any emotional energy into it. So, hope that helps some of you out. I appreciate the fact that you stopped by. I look forward to talking with you next time, and please have a blessed week.